Well, hello YouTube, and a warm welcome to the Essentially Crypto channel. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm your host. Now today we're going a little bit different. Today we're going into the world of Axie Infinity, because I've now been breeding for about a month, give or take, I guess, around about there, and I wanted to show you how you can start breeding if you wanted to as well. Now, a lot of people say that it takes like thousands and thousands of pounds to start breeding. I didn't have thousands and thousands of pounds, so therefore I didn't put that much into it. So I'm going to show you a way that you can start breeding with a lot less money. And I've actually almost recovered my investment. Now, you won't get your investment back as quickly as if you start with a big amount because of the fact that you're getting it back in dribs and drabs, essentially. But if you want to start breeding and you want to do it in the cheapest possible method, then I'm going to try and show you a couple of ways that you can do that today, so that way you don't break the bank trying to do it, and also the risk is a lot less for that reason. Now, incidentally, as I said in another video before, I didn't actually put up the money myself for this. What I did was I went to a friend of mine and I said, hey, look, if you want to invest in this, because she wanted something to invest in, and we do investments with other things ourselves anyway already, so we're kind of investment partners, I should say, where we go sort of 50-50 or whatever. And in this case, what's happening is because I'm bringing the expertise to it, essentially, I put in some investment in, but she's put the majority in. We've bought the Axies together and we're making the Axie farm together. Now, if it all goes pear-shaped, then obviously it's not a great thing, but hopefully if it goes well, then we both take a percentage of the profits and it'll be all good. So that's another thing you can think about doing. If you know your stuff, other people who don't know their stuff might want to invest in something, but they don't know how to even begin. Now, in terms of this Axie sort of demonstration, essentially, I'm going to assume that you've already know how to set up an Axie account with a Ronin wallet and all that kind of thing, and maybe know how to use Binance, because that's the sort of thing you're going to need to know in order to be able to sort of delve into it from the start. But let's move over to the screen, shall we, and see what we're going to start with, because the first thing to start with, essentially, is the reason it's a good idea to start now is that Axie prices are really low, because SLP went down drastically. Now, there is a caveat to that, and that's that ASX went up, and when you breed you need well, before you needed more, now you need less, which kind of made the Axie prices drop as well. They're having a little bit of issues inside the whole ecosystem, so you know, maybe you could argue it's not a good time to start. Obviously not financial advice either way, so it's up to you whether you do. I started at a time when Axies were very expensive, and I'll show you that in a second, and because of that, the ones that I bought were like seriously expensive, like 900 euros or something, or $900 for an Axie. Whereas now you can probably get the same quality of Axie for around about 400 or 500. So it's kind of a good time to start because the prices are low, but it's also maybe a bad time to start because you don't know if the prices are going to go up. But I'm in it now, obviously, I'm doing my thing, and I'm happy to carry on going with it. But obviously that is your own personal decision, and it's not financial advice. I'm just telling you sort of what I did. But one thing that's great and bullish news about it is that Binance have now sort of got a partnership with the Ronin wallet, so that therefore you can actually send SLP directly from the Ronin wallet and ASX as well. Now, that's good because it means that if you buy it on Binance, you can send your SLP and your ASX to your Ronin so that you can do your breeding. And before, what would happen is you would have to send it to your MetaMask, which would encourage a gas fee, then from your MetaMask to the Ronin, which had another gas fee as well. So you were basically paying two gas fees going along, whereas this way, you're paying one fee straight to your Ronin, and it's a lot less, I believe, as well. So therefore, that's kind of good, and it's bullish news. The reason it's bullish news as well is because of the fact that one of the reasons that SLP or one of the markets is going down, etc., is because there's not as many players, and the reason there's not as many players is because SLP is dropping, and the reason it's sort of dropping is because everybody's selling their SLP quickly, because of the fact that by the time they take it out of their account as well, it becomes a lot less because they have to pay a massive gas fee, so people are trying to get around it in different ways and that kind of thing. So therefore, the good thing about it is that now they're going to have a direct route from Binance or from their Ronin to Binance, so they can then cash out their SLP, which means that more players will come into the game because they have this opportunity. So anyway, I digress. That's a good reason to start it if you wanted to. But let's go over a little bit about what we got here. So this is your account in Axie, and let me make myself smaller so that way you can see it a little bit clearer. So here we go. So here's me nice and small down the bottom here. Now you can see I'm pointing out these are the two Axies that I started off with. This is a little video, incidentally, that I did when I very first started because I thought I was going to document everything anyway. Now you can see this is a 94% Axie and an 83% Axie. Okay. Now I'll explain to you how the breeding cycle works and how to make it as cheap as possible in a moment. But for now, I'll explain one thing, because you'll notice there's an 83% Axie, and you might be thinking, well, that's not a very good Axie. But the reason I chose that is because it's got 100% skill on the bottom. And that probably means nothing to you at the moment, but I'll explain that. Maybe that doesn't really mean anything to anyone doing Axie either, but the skill, I call it 100% skill, and I'll explain why. So basically, and I'll explain that in a second when we go to the marketplace. So this is a little video of what happens. Basically, you get your two Axies, you have your AXS up the top here, you have your SLP, you buy the amount that you need, and you can check that out how much you would need by going to a website called Chill Axie. And I will leave that in the comments below so that you can go and find that. So Chill Axie is a great one because you click on what you need and it will tell you exactly how much SLP, how much ASX you need, and all that kind of stuff. It does all the calculations for you, and it's super simple, so it's really cool. So that is down in the comments below. You also need a what's it called, an extension. Now I can't remember the chap who made it, but everybody uses this extension, and the cool thing about this extension is you see this information here that pops up, the 94%, and it also tells you the you know, how many babies you've had, that kind of thing, and it also tells you the skills that the Axie has in his dominant recessive 1 and recessive 2 genes, and they're very important, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay. So basically, this is what it looks like when they breed. Anyway, just in case you wanted to know. So what you do is you basically click on the Axie that you want to breed. So you bought your Axie, you click on the one, and you just go to breed. And then once you hit that breed button, what happens is it says it's woohoo time. So what you'll do is you will choose the Axie you want it to breed with. Now, in my case, I only have one Axie. Now, remember, you can't breed two Axies. Like, for instance, if you have a parent and then they have a baby, you can't breed the baby with the parent. You're not allowed to do that. That doesn't work, obvious reasons. And then what happens is once you click on breeding, it will tell you the fee you need. Now, for me, when I first started, it was 4 ASX. So it was a lot more expensive, but ASX was actually lower in value as well, whereas now it's gone up quite a bit. All you do is you confirm the transaction on your Ronin wallet, which will come up, and it will tell you exactly how much it's going to be, that kind of thing. You hit the confirm button, and you get like 100 transactions a day free with the Ronin wallet, so you don't have to worry about that. You're probably never going to go over, and if you do, just wait to the end of the day and then do it again the next day. So, and then you hit confirm, and that's that basically. Once you've confirmed it all. Now, incidentally, if you're using a hardware wallet or something like that, I haven't got the hardware wallet at this time, but if you are, then you do have to make sure you click the button to allow it and all that kind of thing. And then it does this little animation here. Look, lovely little animation, and it said your egg will be delivered soon. So in this case, I bred 3 times. So all I did was breed that 3 times. And then we will get to, here we go. This is it now. And we will now go and see. And as you can see, I've got 3 eggs waiting in the wings there. And you can see that the ASX and the SLP has gone down. And if you click on one of your eggs, there's your 3 eggs just there. You can click on one of them and you can see the information about it here. So there is the egg information. And you can see that's the current state. It takes 5 days in total to go from egg to adult. So there you go. So that's the main thing, I guess, about the breeding. So now I'm going to teach you or take you through exactly how you make it cheap. Okay, because a lot of people say you need like 5 grand to start and all that kind of thing. As I said, I didn't have that. I had probably half that, if anything. So now you won't get your investment back as quick as I said, but it does mean that you can start off at least. And if it's something you want to do, then you do. So in my case, what I had was I had 2 Axies that I just bought. You just saw them. One was a 94% and one was an 85%. Now, a lot of people are always saying that you need to have the purest Axie possible to breed. And that is kind of true. But it doesn't have to be, because A, you can breed floor Axies if you want to. I don't recommend it. But also, if you have the skills, but you don't have the ears and the eyes, then it doesn't matter too much. The eyes and the ears don't make a lot of difference. All they make a difference is the percentage that you have to breed. So you may have a 97%er, for instance, but it has an R1 gene that's not very good, and then that can get passed on. So that 97% won't be as good as if you have all the skills, because if you have all the skills, for instance, if you have, I don't know, carrot hammer, for example, and you have it on all three genes across the board, it means that you've got pretty much, and you have that the same with the other Axie, you've got a 100% chance of getting carrot hammer. You don't have to worry about any recessive or anything like that, although there could be a mutation that pops in. But that mutation generally will not go to the dominant gene. That will jump into either R2 or R1 or whatever, but it will not jump into the dominant. So you've got a 100% chance of getting that. And again, there's websites, I will link some down the bottom there, so you can actually do like a breeding test to see. And all you do is you just click sort of 10 times on it to see what's going to come out. Now, is it realistic? I guess you could say it is, but it just really gives you an idea of what could possibly happen. So I don't really know if you actually need to do it. Some people swear by it, some people say it's a great thing. For me, I bred it a few times, looked at what it was, and I found when my breeding came out, it looked completely different. So, you know, it really is just a generalization of what you could possibly get. So therefore, I haven't actually gone through the process of going through that breeding site, but it is in the bottom there if you would like to do that, and you can go and check what you may get. But I would say go off the genes themselves, look at what they are, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So first off, what you need to do is you need to buy 2 Axies. Now, depending on the cost of the Axies, this is your main money from the start, okay? And then obviously you need the money to breed them. So for example, in my case, you can see I've got my 2 Axies here. So therefore my first one was $977, so that's quite a lot. And the next one was $642. So that one was actually significantly cheaper. And I wish I'd realised that I didn't need the eyes and ears and everything to be in the genes that it was beforehand, and I'll explain that in a second. I've kind of explained it already anyway, but this 62, it had 100% skills, but it didn't have the eyes and ears. But when I bred them together, I got some really good Axies in the end. I even got a 96%er. So I had an 82% and a 94%. And when I bred them together, I got a 96%. So I actually went up because of the fact that the skills were there. And then they accidentally, I guess, caught some of the genes in the eyes and the ears as well. So therefore, they actually went up in value, which is pretty cool. So here's what happened. So basically, it was roughly $295, I think, at the time. I had to pay for ASX and SLP. Again, that will depend on what you're paying. So if you look now at what we've paid out, essentially, we've got 977, we've got 642, and then we've got 295, 295, 295. Okay, so we won't add that all together properly, but it's 369, so it's 900. That's another about 1,000 there, isn't it? And give or take about, about 700 there, I guess. So 9 and 7 is 15. Then let's say $2,500. Yeah, roughly. So that's what we started off with. So you don't need 5,000 odd or whatever. You can start off with that. Now there are actual ways to start off with even less, and we'll go through that in a second. But let me go through the gene cycle and then you'll understand why. So basically I'm going to do this ABC breeding, not ABCD, but again, you can do it with ABCD as well. So there's other videos on that, and I can go through that if you want me to go through. But to make it the cheapest possible, this is one way to do it. Now, incidentally, you don't have to breed 3 times either. You can just breed twice, which would mean that you would have less 300. So therefore, really, your only cost is your 2 Axies and then the 295 for each one, or give or take. Well, that was split between the 3 of them, okay, to make up the final amount. And as I said, that will change depending on the amount of ASX and SLP. At the time, that's what that was, okay? So what happens is once you've then bred them, you then sell these 2 here. Okay, so I bought one for 977, I bought one for 642, and I managed to sell them both for roughly 500. So then that gave me 1,000 as a sort of profit. It wasn't profit because I wasn't in profit, obviously. And then what I did was I then bought another one for 871. Okay, so therefore I was essentially then 200 up still. Now the reason I bought this one is because you cannot breed, as I said, you cannot breed like the red and the yellow, which you see up the top there. You cannot breed it with any of the greens that we've just bred. Okay, so therefore that's what you can't do. So basically you have to buy another one in order to breed it with those. And then what will happen is you see you will breed that 871 and the 295. You will then breed that together. Now bear in mind you haven't paid any more money out at this point. You've got 2,500 give or take. You've got the 2 there, and then you've got these 2 that you're going to breed. So you've then paid for that Axie. Now, depending on what you pay for that Axie, you may have enough left over to do your 3 breeds. Probably not though. You might have to add a little bit more in, so a slight more on your investment. Okay. So, and then what happens is when you breed those 2 together, you then get 3 more. So this is your second set of breeding. But then this is where the good stuff comes in, because you can actually sell. Now, incidentally, you can do this beforehand as well. So you've got the SLP to breed them 3 times. You can sell these 2 here. Okay, so you would automatically anyway sell the 2 parents once you've bred. But before you do that, you can also sell this red starred one as well. So if you sell that red star, then it means you've got enough money to be able to pay for the other SLP and ASX. So I don't know if I've made it a bit confusing. Hopefully you understand where I'm going with it. So basically, when you do it, all you do is you breed, and then as soon as you bred, you sell those on. Okay. Now, normally, as I said, I sold them for 500 each, give or take. So I didn't get my money back, but the floor prices kind of stay as they are. And one thing I've noticed with the floor prices, you might look at it and you might think, okay, I paid 977, so therefore I'm going to try and sell it back for 900 to get my money back. Well, it won't work like that. And the reason it won't work like that is because the floor prices are essentially set by the amount of people that have the same statistics or the same genes. Now, some are going to be slightly better than others, but I do find that if you put your Axie higher, it's a bit like if you go to a bakery to buy bread and it's, I don't know, 80 pence, say, or 80 cents or whatever in the US. If you buy a bread for 80 cents and then you go to another bakery and it's 80 cents, and you would go to lots of bakeries and it's 80 cents, but if you went to a bakery where it was €3, you just wouldn't buy it. So, or $3, you wouldn't buy it. So therefore, when you're putting your Axies up for sale, the best way to do it is to put in the statistics of your Axie and then look at what the floor price is and then put it just slightly higher, but going down to that floor price at some point, whether it be over 2 days or 3 days or whatever you want to do, so that way you've got it high for a bit. And if people happen to see it and happen to buy it, yes, but if not, they will buy it at floor price or just slightly higher anyway, if it's a better one. Now, that is only, this is a caveat here, that is only if you've got skills that are not really wanted, or like you don't want to just look at floor price, like say $200 and go, right, I'll put it at 200. You want to look at the floor price of the skills that you have across the board, okay, which I'll explain how to do in just a second. So basically, this is what you do. You have your 2 Axies, you breed it 3 times, you then sell the parents. Okay, you then buy another Axie because you need to. Now, once these ones are bred, you can then sell this one over here with the red star, which will then give you money to breed again to the second set to make them purple. Okay, so there's the 3 that have just been bred. And then what you do is you then sell both the parents again. So you've essentially sold 1, 2, 3 Axies by that point. So you've essentially already made a profit. Because, well, you haven't got your money back, but you've made a bit of a profit that you can put aside and say, okay, that's going towards my money back. And then you've got your 3 down the bottom there. So then what happens, you do the same process. You then sell one of them, whichever one isn't a good Axie. Now, the reason I breed 3 times is because sometimes you get 2 really good ones and then 1 really rubbishy one. Or you might get 3 really good ones, and then in which case you can sell one anyway for a lot higher, which is awesome. Or you may just get, one of them that works, and then you can sell 2 to then buy a decent one or whatever. You've basically got to edge your bets, because it is really up to the gods of Axie, because sometimes they just throw a gene in there randomly that can mess up your whole breeding. And if that's the case, you don't want to carry on breeding with that Axie. So therefore you want to sell 2 to be able to buy a better one, or you wait for the prices to go down or what have you, because the floor prices go up and down. Just like any crypto, it goes up and down. The good thing about it is that it's not like a crypto where you buy it and then you just hold and then it goes up, and then you might like hold still and then it goes down and you're still holding. This is like you're still getting money back every single time you do a breeding cycle. So every 5 days you will get some money back. Whether or not you get exactly the amount that you put in, or slightly higher or slightly less, you still get money back. So you can then still reinvest, and when the prices do go up and go down, etc., then you can sort of account for that. Incidentally, they have changed the ASX price now, and I've noticed that whenever the price of ASX goes through the roof, then they may limit the amount needed to do breeding and then increase maybe the SLP or something like that. ASX doesn't have a limited supply. Has a limited supply, but SLP doesn't. SLP is infinite, so therefore it can just constantly be churned out, which is a bit of a weird thing to think about because that's how people get paid in the game. So therefore it needs people to breed to keep that economy going. So therefore they want breeders. So they're not going to do things to mess up the breeding, well, as best they can anyway. So that's the way I see it anyway. But again, not financial advice, just what I'm doing, okay? So then what you do is you bred them two together. You've then got that little start. You've sold that one, okay? So then you can then breed between those two. So you're going back on yourself, okay? So you bred here and this one, you've sold them two. You've got that one remaining. You then take one of the babies from that because it wasn't a parent of that one. That's not the parents. You sold the parents. So you can go back on yourself to breed and there. Now, it looks really complicated from this diagram probably, but it's actually really simple because once you've sold the parents, the only one left is that one there anyway. So then you do exactly the same thing again. You use the money that you've got to get SLP and ASX again, and then you breed 3 times again. And then you do the same process again. You sell that one there, the parent, you sell that other parent, which means that the only ones you've got left is this one from before, which is the little purple one, which is just, not that one, the one next to it. Wait, there, that one. Oh, you can't see it because my hand disappears. That one there in the middle, and then you've got the 3 green ones, obviously. So then you breed them two together, okay? And then you end up with 3 more Axies. And then you sell that one, and you sell the parent, and you sell the odd one over in the corner, and you sell the parent again. So basically, that is the cycle that goes on. So you can see from starting with the smaller investment of around about, I guess in total, about $3,000 in total. And it will be less now because the price of Axies has gone down drastically. Now, the same Axies that I bought, you can probably get for around about 400 or 500 as virgins. Incidentally, you need to get them as virgins, and I'll explain that. But, well, actually you don't, and I'll explain that in a second as well. But you probably want to get them as virgins because then you can get the most out of them. Because once you start hitting the 4 or 5 breed, then it means that you have to pay a lot more in SLP to breed, and therefore it doesn't work out financially viable when you want to try and sell the Axie, because you're going to be spending a lot more to breed the final one than you would get in the long run of selling it, okay? So I would say 3 or 4 is the most you need to do. So that's my little chart there. So let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so let's go over to the market now of Axie so you can see how you would buy your Axie and where you start. So the first thing you probably want to do is you would like to go to this thing here, the breed count, and well, first of all, you have to decide which type of of animal or whatever you're going to do. So most people go for plants, some people go for aquas. Both of them are quite good to breed, so it's up to you to decide which one you get. Now, as you can see straight away, you've got 6,201 Axie. So what on earth are you going to do there? How do you know which one to get? Well, firstly, you need to install this, which is Freaks Axie extension. Okay, I'll leave the details in the comments below so that way you can go and grab it. Now, there's 2 ways to go at this. You can buy yourself a virgin, which means that they haven't bred at all. Now, when you do that, it means you're going to be spending more money up front, essentially, and you're not going to recoup your investment on the first thing. You don't recoup your investment from selling your Axies that you breed, that you're using to breed. You recoup the investment from the ones that you breed, if that makes sense. So basically, you sell the parents, but you sell them for less, but then you use the babies to breed again, and then you sell babies, which are virgins, and then they make the money. So that's how you do it every time. So if you pay, say, 900 for an Axie, which I did, you're not going to get 900 back, as I said. So in my case, I've chosen plant, so therefore you go for plant, and then you've got your breed count just here. Now, if you're going for virgins, then you just hit that all the way down to 0, and then that way it will come up with all of the virgin Axies. So you'll see that in just a second. My internet's a bit slow here, but you can see there's now 28,026 Axies in total. So that's still quite a few. So then you go over to here to pureness, and you can put it up to 6, okay, which it already is. So you can see that majority of them are 95, 97, 98, whatever. Blah blah blah. Now, here's the interesting thing. First of all, you want to check which Axie you want to buy. So first of all, you want to know if you're doing plant or bird or whatever. And then what you want to do is you want to find out what the meta is, which is the most effective tactics available. Okay, so you want to find out which card is probably going to be the best for the Axie you chose to breed. Because then if you look at the card that's going to work the best for people, that's the one they're most likely to want in their Axie. And therefore, if you're breeding with that Axie, you're more likely to sell your Axie. If you just go for a random Axie and then just choose, you know, any one of these, like some of them have some good skills and bad skills and stuff like that. But if you just go for the ones that most people use and most people want, the likelihood is, even though there's going to be probably a lot of breeders doing that as well, you're still likely to sell your Axie. So basically, this is the market anyway. As I said, you need the Freaks Axie extension. Now, as you can see, I've got plant here. So what you can do is you can put your parts in over here and you can decide what you want. So for instance, I might decide that I want a yam. So I can click on that and that will give me that. I might decide I want a rosebud horn or something like that. Let's take away cactus. I don't know what that's doing there. So we've got yam, rosebud, and then, you know, basically you find out what cards you want to use and what you want to breed. So let's go for, I don't know, we'll go for Sirius, because Sirius is a good card. I'm not saying these are good cards, by the way, so you have to do your own research on that one and decide which you want. And the meta will keep changing as well. So, oh, incidentally, if this happens, which, oh no, it didn't happen to me this time, but sometimes what happens is when you put something in, so what have we got covered here? We need a towel, don't we? Have we got a towel already? Let me check. So we've got the bite, we've got the horn, which is there, we've got the towel, and what we're missing? Oh, we're missing a back. So let's go for, I don't know, let's go for shiitake because it's there. So therefore, shiitake, there it is there. Now, if you try and click on it and it doesn't come up, which sometimes happens, just sort of hover over the one you want and hit return on your keyboard, and that will automatically add it in, okay? So now you'll see we've got 4 parts, okay, there's only 8 Axies, so this probably isn't a good one to buy, to be honest. Although, as you can see, somebody here has put like stupidly expensive here. Maybe this is a really good one. I don't know. It depends on the meta at the time or what have you. But there's only 8 of them available. Okay. So therefore, this is a general. So you've got plants, you've got your breed count there, you've got the pureness all the way up to there. And then if we look at this one, for instance, you'll see it's 100%. Now, although it's 100%, you can see that it's got Sirius, then it's got Silence, Whisper, Rosebud, Shiitake, and it's got Mint. Now, the reason it's 100% is because of the fact that all of those are green. Okay, so, and then if you look here at 98%, you can see that majority are green, but you've got Goda and a caterpillars in there. So basically, when that was being bred or whatever, they either threw in a gene, the Axie gods threw in a gene that didn't really want to be in there, so to speak, like not accidentally, but they just throw them in randomly, or it happened to be from the parents who might have had that gene as well as a recessive or something like that. So, as you can see, the one we've chosen here, we've chosen some weird things to maybe only get 9. So let me take away some of the parts. But basically, what you would do is you would put in your 4 parts just there. Now, that's not taking into account your eyes and your ears because you don't really need to worry about them too much. So let's take out Rosebud and we'll take out Shiitake. So we've got Sirius and Yam. So just as 2 cards for instance that you could use. And you'll see there'll be a lot more Axies now. That you can choose from. Marvellous. So 457 of those now. So remember this little thing over here, the Freaks Axie extension. When you roll over it, what happens is you get to see exactly what's in there. Now, this is a perfect example. Remember I said that 96% or something like that or above is what people are saying to breed with. That's what you should breed with. But that would mean that you would go, oh, I'll buy this one. But if you look here, you can see that although it's 96%, it's also got an R1 gene. Now, the chances of getting the R1 in the breed is not massive because of the fact that it's R1, and R2 is even less. And you can check out those details. I'll leave a link in the comments below to check out exactly what the percentages is of each one. And incidentally, you can find that on most Axie sites anyway. But the main one you want to look at is the D and the R1. If you've got anything in the R1 that's sort of sticking out, then maybe it's not a good one to get for breeding. For actual fighting with and stuff like that, it doesn't really matter because that's not what you're bothered about. You're only bothered about the actual stuff you've got on the front, and that is what's going to play your cards. So you can see here, for instance, let's have a look. Let's see if I can. Here we go. Perfect. Now you can see here we've got serious, serious, serious. So that's great. We've got serious across the board. So 100% skill on serious, as I would say. Then you've got cactus, cactus. Then you've got bumpy there in R2. Now R2 is very less likely to come forward anyway. So if you've got the first two lines of stuff that you want, so in this case, serious, serious, cactus, cactus. Biden's, I'm not sure whether that's any good or not, and pumpkin, and then yam and yam. So you can see that that one, like if you want those characteristics, is okay because of the fact that you've got them there. Although I still personally wouldn't go for it. I would go for something else. But I'm just trying to show you here that it doesn't necessarily mean the percentage. It's really, as you're going over, just go like this, go through and just look for what you need, basically. Look for the ones that you want to see, like there's serious, serious, beach, cactus, pumpkin, but you see it's got bone cell. So therefore, if you breed with that, you might find that bone cell jumps to the front as a dominant gene. It's not a guarantee that it will, and it's not a guarantee that it won't, but it's a possibility. So if you can find one that's better, just turn my microphone off there. If you find one that's better that doesn't have that issue, then you're onto a winner. And as you can see, the lower percentage you go, like let's go for an 84%. Let's have a look. You can see serious, serious, serious. Now that one's not too great to show you anyway. Let's see if we can find a decent one. Let's have a look. So it's what I'm getting at is it's not always the higher percentage that you need to go for. It's if you look across the skills board at the bottom. Now, if you look at the top two rows, that is your eyes and ears. So that doesn't really matter because that doesn't affect the playability. It might affect a little bit sometimes on the morale and the speed and all that kind of stuff. I think anyway, I don't actually play the game. I only breed. So you need to know a little bit about the game essentially if you want to breed. But I've just been doing what I do. I've just been making sure I get skills across the board and I've been breeding them so that way I know what skills I'm going to get. But this is just an example. So just to say you don't always need a massive percentage. That's why I went for an 82% before, because of the fact it had skills across the board that I wanted. So yeah, you just use the Freaks Axie extension and you just go through like this and you just have a look. Now, by all means, if you want to spend a lot of money and you want to get 100%er, 200%ers, and then you can breed them together, it's a great idea because then that way you're guaranteed you're getting 100%. But what you've also got to remember is that when you're looking at these skills, make sure you look at what they're going to be. So this is 96% that you see, but it's 96% because the majority of it is green. But if you look there, you've got Tiny Turtle in the NAR1. So that means that if you were to try and, that's more expensive. It's $456 compared to another one up here, which is, I don't know, 86%. Let's have a look and see what that is. Let's see if we can find a cheaper one with a better, no, that's a bad example. 84%, that's a bad example. Oof. Okay, quite a lot of these are bad examples. That's not so good, is it? I'm not doing good here. But you can see, let's have a look. That's probably, well, no, it's still got Rancho. Let's see if we can find greens all the way. We can't find anything with greens all the way, but you get the idea anyway. The idea is you basically just go through this yourself and you just have a look. And if you see something that you don't want, essentially, then you just skip it because it may possibly come out in your breeding thing, and then you'll kind of be a bit messed up, and you'll want to you won't have to start again necessarily, but you might have to sell one to go back on yourself or something like that. But you'll find that the actual that's the other thing as well. The more expensive it gets, generally the people who know what they're doing in terms of axies, the more expensive it gets, the better it is generally. So, like for example there, perfect. Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin. You can see 3 across pumpkin. So if the only skill you wanted was pumpkin, as long as you get that one, you got 3 across pumpkin, you know you're 100% going to get pumpkin. So the real money shot, if you can get it, although that's a 95%, but the real money shot, if you can get it, is one where you've got something like, well, that one's even not too bad, that one there, look. You've got serious, 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 beach, cactus, cactus, turnip, pumpkin, yam, Hasumi. They're different ones, but you can see there's no other recessive gene coming forward as well, or there's no other gene from another axie coming into it. So even though it's a less percentage on some of them, it can actually be a better one to get. So it just depends on just going through yourself, having a look, seeing what you want to get, and going from there really. This one is a 92%, and you can see that it's got serious, watermelon, beach, watering can, pumpkin, yam, and carrot. So all of them are pretty okay. So therefore, the chances of you getting them are higher. You can see it's still got some R2s, but normally R2s move up to the R1 in the offspring and then move up to the dominant. So if you want to carry on a breeding pool, it's not so good. But if you just want to breed a couple of times, then maybe it's okay. But either way, so you can start off by breeding just 2 of them, as I said, or you can breed 3. If you breed 3, you get a chance to sell 1, and you get a chance to have the 2 that are the best to then carry on the breeding pool and as you go along. Now, what else is there to say about it? Well, not much really. Basically, you just get your axies and then you breed them together, and then when you get your 3 babies, you then decide what you're going to do. The other thing you can do to make it even cheaper, if you wanted to, is generally the floor between selling them at 3 breeds and 4 breeds is very, very small. There doesn't seem to be much difference, maybe $20, sometimes $50, maybe not even that. So sometimes you can actually buy a 3 breed or a 2 breed that somebody's bred 2 or 3 times. So therefore you go to your breed count here. So let's have a look. So remember, you've got, what were the prices? It's a bit hard to look at the moment because of the fact that, so let's just go for this one. Let's say in the 92%, it's a complete virgin. It's got 92% and it's at 1.2. Okay. So now let's go to say 2 breeds. And let's have a look. So 2 breeds. So what we got here? We should get higher percentages at around about the same price. So there you go. So it was a 92%. So we got a 3% for 1.1. So therefore you can see that the ones that you're getting, and like here for instance, you've got pumpkin. 86% here. Let's have a look. 91%. There you go. Beach rose with pumpkin. All of these, when you're looking at them, they are 2 breeders. Okay, so this means that what you would do is you would buy that one at $442 as an example. You would then breed it either twice more or even just the once if you wanted to, and then you could sell it back on there again, probably for exactly the same price, if not slightly more. Depending on, what the floor price is at the time and when you buy it. So that's another sneaky way that you can do it. So again, you won't get your investment back straight away, but essentially you will really, because of the fact that you sell it for exactly the same price you bought it, minus maybe $20 or $50. So the only thing is that you will have to pay out more SLP to be able to breed with that. But if you maybe buy a virgin and then one of them, then it won't be as much. Or you can buy two breeders, for instance, breed them together twice, each of them, and then you're basically paying the cost of the 3rd breed and the 4th breed, and then you will sell your Axie back on the market for exactly what you bought it for. So that's another way to do it as well. But either way, you have to go through that process to try, and you have to start with buying your 2 Axies, breed them together, get your 3 or your 2, and then go on. But the cheapest way to do it is literally to make sure you breed and then sell your parents on, then carry on the process. Whereas a lot of people, what they do is they go like, I've got to spend like $5,000, I've got to buy 2 there, I've got to buy 2 there, I've got to breed them 3 times, then I've got to sell the parents, then and you just don't realize how it works. But if you sell them as you go, because you're going to sell them anyway, you then recoup that money and you use it to carry on your breeding farm and then eventually grow it. And then what you can do at one point as well, if you really wanted to, when you started to gain your investment back, or maybe once you got your investment back, you can start the ABC breeding, where you breed your 3, or maybe you breed 4, and then you use 2 of those to breed twice against 2 other Axies, and then you've got 4 and 4, so therefore you then have 8, and you just go in between, back and forth like that, and you don't have to worry about the going back and forth like you have to do with the ABC breeding. But I won't really explain that because that was probably a bit complicated how I explained that. But either way, that's how you can make breeding as cheap as possible, essentially. So there you go. So that was my little introduction to the Axie Infinity. Hopefully you got something out of that. I don't know how many people are interested in Axie Infinity. I wasn't interested at the start with the game itself because I wasn't really that interested in gaming as such. Although obviously I've now sort of digressed to Monster Infinite as well, because of the fact that I think that's going to be big because coming out with Binance Smart Chain rather than it being on Ethereum, which has got a lot of fees, and also there's a few security things that they've changed as well. If you haven't checked out Monster Infinite, then make sure you do on that one as well, because maybe that's going to be the new Axie, but who knows. But either way, I think Axie's still going to be around for a long time. They're going to have land, they're going to have all kinds of things, or they've got land already, but only a small amount has been released. So they're going to have land that they're going to release. They're going to have new changes to the meta, new changes to gaming. There's Axie 2.0 coming out, and there's also the Ronin decks as well, which will take away all the fees. So this can only get better, essentially. And a lot of people are actually using this as income to be able to survive. So not only are you essentially making some money by selling the Axies as well, but you're also helping other people who get into the game. They're buying the Axies and they're using them to make money themselves. So you're essentially creating jobs, which is really, really cool as well. Now, if you really want to get into it, if you don't want to just do the breeding and then that's it, because that's all I do, you can also do scholarships as well. And maybe I'll do another video on that, but there's plenty of videos on the internet already about scholarships. I just thought I'd give you a little taste of my journey into Axie and some of the things that I discovered about breeding that maybe some other people aren't saying, about the fact that you know, you don't necessarily need the 97 and the 98 percenters, because you can still work your way up, and as long as you've got 100% skills across the board, then it seems that you can sell those for good rates as well. So you know, maybe it's just a cheaper way of getting into it, but once you're into it, then you're in. You know, it is a risky investment, as with anything, because it's like any crypto, it can go up, it can go down. You know, and it's still a risky investment. So don't take it as financial advice or anything like that. I'm just telling you how I got into Axie and what I did to try and, you know, minimize the risk, I should say. But as I said, Axie token or AXS is going up massively at the moment. It's like $90 a token. So maybe now's not a good time to get into it. But then at the same time, the price of Axies is very low. So you could sort of, you know, you could think, you know, put one against the other on that one, because when I got in, it was 2 ASX token per Axie you needed, so it was 4 in total. It was at $40 a token, so therefore that was $80 every time I bred anyway, each time. So therefore now it's at $90 a token. I need 1 each time, so it's pretty much the same for me. It's about $20 difference. It's not a huge amount. But the price of Axies has dropped massively as well, and because you have to go along with the floor price, then it means that you're paying more for breeding, but you're getting less price on the Axie. So, you know, do bear that in mind. It can go up, it can go down, just like any crypto. You can lose all your money or you can make loads. But either way, that is essentially crypto. Thank you very much for joining me, and look out for more Axie videos. Bye-bye for now.